We're hearing so much about FinTech in our industry. At Zurich, we're delighted to partner with AdviserVoice to bring you the FinTech Lab series. This is all about helping you to use this technology to embrace change, to make a real difference in your practice. I really hope you enjoy the series.
Welcome back to the AdviserVoice Zurich FinTech Lab series. And today we're talking with Mark Fordry, the CEO of Ignition Wealth. Mark, can you please tell us what Ignition Wealth is actually doing in the advisor space at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ignition Wealth has come from a 7-year history of providing technology and advice tools into the industry fund space. Over the last 2 years, we've developed a portal, for want of a better word, which really allows advisor groups particularly to introduce a client base into a compliant environment to generate some data and to service much more of the addressable market than they can currently do.
Mm-hmm. And so what's the main, I guess, advantage that you see with the portal?
So I think the main advantage is that there's a large proportion of the market who really just need some fairly rudimentary financial advice as to what they should be doing across the timeframes they're looking to invest. And one of the issues that we've found with many advice firms is that in an environment where the cost of compliance is going up and up, the cost of servicing the client base is going up and up. So part of our solution includes asking the client enough information online where we can generate a compliant statement of advice, and the client ends up with a product which really does suit their individual footprint.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds really interesting, and let's hand over to the panel now to just get some initial questions for you. Clayton, your initial observations?
Yeah, I guess my question is, how does it differ from something that a client can go to market and request that's already available to them without the need of having it attached to an advisor?
The main point of differentiation with Ignition Wealth is actually that we give advice. Right. So the client does end up with some actual advice as to what they should do. The second key component, I think, is that we are independent. So unlike perhaps a platform where there's several layers of fees attached to getting to an end result, with the Ignition solution, the client has the capacity to go on and end up, as I say, with an individual risk profile which will allow them to generate and execute a portfolio HIN-based, so it's in their name, with a cash management account which is in their name. So we're actually a portal to allow that to happen rather than someone who's selling a product to the person.
Virginia?
So would this be classified or called robo-advice? Is that effectively what this is?
Look, absolutely, it falls into the category of robo-advice, and I think if you do a Google search, you'll find us fairly quickly. Okay. But having said that, I think the term robo-advice has become a little bit of a catch-all for a very wide variety of product offerings, and in a lot of ways is quite meaningless. We tend to like to use the term automated advice because it accurately reflects the pathway that the client goes down.
What type of advisor practices are you targeting to use your software?
Yes, so it doesn't have a cut-off in the sense of you have to be X size before we'll speak to you, but we're currently onboarding an advisor practice about every 10 days. We've announced 3 to the market, 2 in Victoria, where it's what we call a co-branded product, where they can use our product as it comes off the shelf, and it's particularly appropriate for them to introduce the lower account balances, where it would be unviable, uneconomic for them to service the client. But having said that, we've also got advice groups where they hold their own AFSL, and they have a lot more input into what actual products are offered to the clients, because it's the statement of advice is actually on their license.
I'm curious on that note. Are you allowing licensees to select their own portfolio to have through Ignition Wealth, through that service offering? Or?
That can certainly be done, but only if it's on either their licence or the products have gone through our investment committee. The solution is actually very flexible depending on the client needs. It's not a this is Ignition, this is a solution, take it or leave it. It's a technology solution that can work with many groups, from a 3-person suburban advice group through to what we currently have, which is large institutions with a million customers on their books and anything in between.
How does you just mentioned an investment committee. How does that work?
So we have a investment committee. A gentleman by the name of Henry Capper is the chairman of that committee. We use Lonsec to generate the asset allocation in the portfolios. Once that's done and they provide the research that sits behind it, it then comes to our investment committee for final approval, as does any changes to the recommended product and new product. So it just allows us to fulfil our obligations under our licence to ensure that everything that's on our platform meets our criteria and obviously the regulator's criteria.
And the risk profiling, obviously you must have risk profiling in there, so the client takes themselves through that process?
Absolutely. The client takes themselves through that. It's about an 8-step process, but we also have sitting alongside that a call centre. So at any point through that journey, if the client, as that quite often happens, has a question, gets to a point they mightn't quite understand what it means, they can speak to our call centre, have that clarified, and if they're happy, move on through.
And are there ETFs in there, managed funds, direct shares, all of the above, or do you lean in a certain direction?
So what we call our 1.0 model is 100% exchange-traded funds. And the reason we've done that is because of the cost and diversification available to the client. One of the key reasons I think that automated advice being available to lower balances actually makes sense in 2016 is through the advent of technology and ETFs. Because when we think about it, if someone walks in your door with say $25,000, it's very hard to generate an appropriately diversified portfolio without a transaction cost, which kills them. And it's only via ETFs that you can generate that diversification through perhaps 4 or 5 ETFs at a price point which is acceptable to the investor.
How do you help advisors get with the best interest duty?
Compliance and best interest duty are absolutely at the forefront of what we're doing. We believe that the regulator is going to continue to drive all these investment solutions toward a best interest outcome. So by our system having gone through a very rigorous approval process to get our AFSL and an ongoing relationship with the regulator, we're very confident that we do meet best interests. And if you think about some of the issues that have been in the marketplace in recent times, most of those have been associated with product manufacturers being on one side of the desk alongside the advisor with the client sitting in front of them. Because we don't have that linkage, it's actually very easy for us to focus on, well, actually, what is the best outcome for the client here, because we don't have an economic reason to be doing anything other than that.
Well, thanks, Mark. It sounds like Ignition Wealth has found a niche in the market for people who otherwise can't afford to get advice. So we're going to hand over to the panel now, and we'll be back shortly with after they've road tested it. So we'll ask you to join us shortly.
Thank you.